Hey, this is Kyle, and welcome to our podcast. In this episode, Abby and I dive into how our devices are shaping relationships and explore why our attention is so crucial to genuine connection. We hope you enjoy this thoughtful discussion on the digital age and its impact on love and connection.
Welcome back.
Yeah, we just did something exciting for us. So, nice. I like that. Abby and I just booked our honeymoon.
Yay!
We're officially going to Cancun.
Yay!
Exciting times. We ended up, so like we mentioned before, we got married in May, and we did have a plan to go to Italy
in July
for our honeymoon. But finances just weren't there after the wedding. So
yeah,
it honestly just wasn't feasible at all for us at that point, right? As much as we wanted to go, because there was also a wedding for one of your friends there. So it was going to be like a 2-for-1 banger.
It'd be like I thought it was going to be like a fun experience.
Yeah.
I guess having like, you know, our honeymoon, but also that component of the wedding. I felt like that would have been fun.
Yeah. But it didn't work out.
Yeah. It just wasn't feasible. Yeah.
But now we are ready to book.
We're ready.
And we did.
Yeah. We've been talking about it for like a couple months now. Shortly after we realized like Italy wasn't going to happen, we started considering other places, and we still really had like decision fatigue from the wedding planning.
Yeah. And
the idea of going on a honeymoon anywhere where we had to like plan our days just like wasn't really appealing to us anymore. Like I told a lot of people that I didn't really want to do a resort for our honeymoon, like prior to the wedding. Yeah, I didn't want to do a resort. Like it just wasn't how I envisioned my honeymoon. But yeah, I was not up to planning anything. We were looking to relax and just chill. And the all-inclusive aspect like just became more and more appealing. I was surprised when you mentioned that you didn't envision an all-inclusive or weren't down for it initially, because you've never done that. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really done either, right? I haven't traveled a lot. Right. But what made you hesitant? Off-put or hesitant about all-inclusive resorts? Just maybe stories from other people, or? It wasn't really what I like had envisioned, I guess. I don't really know. Okay, that's fair. Like I probably I probably just envisioned Europe. Yeah. Like that's just how I was envisioned like my honeymoon. Right. But when it actually came down to it, like I mean, I've never really traveled, so as much as I would like to go to Europe, I also don't like to plan. I don't like to plan trips, and I don't like to, when you go to somewhere like Europe, like you have to plan your days, like what you're going to do, where you're going to eat and stuff. And I don't like doing that. That's fair. So as much as I envisioned it, I obviously never thought of what actually goes behind it. And that's just, that's not really for me. Yeah. So the all-inclusive component just became like more and more appealing. Because I thought like maybe it would go away. Like I know we said it was decision fatigue from the wedding. I thought it was going to go away, but like it didn't really. Like, it still hasn't. Yeah. Like I still don't want to plan a whole trip or a whole vacation. That's how much wedding planning affects you. Yeah. Months after the wedding, you're still reaming from the you're like, I still don't want to plan effects. Anything. Yeah. So the all-inclusive just got more and more appealing, and then we just started looking at places, and we got some help from Martin, our buddy. Yeah, and good friend of mine. We planned it for October, so that just gives us like a lot of time to like look into things like just at our own pace. Yeah. Like we've been looking for probably seriously looking for maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, but then today, so the place we booked, we found today. Yeah. Abby was in the other room. I was just looking on Expedia. Yeah. And what caught my eye was the suite, and then the price associated to the suite. So it's a more modern building. It's an oceanfront full suite. Yeah, like master suite, I think it was called. It was called a master suite, yeah. Which at other resorts was out of our price range. Mm-hmm. But at this one, there was a promotion going on where you were saving like $2,000 or something like that. Yeah, totally. Almost, yeah. So the images got me. Like what got me was the pictures of the room. And then after I saw the room pictures, I was like, okay, let me check out the resort pictures just to make sure that the resort itself is nice. Yeah. Right. It's got all the restaurants, like a bunch of different
food options. It's got your pool. It's got a rooftop pool, which is awesome.
It seems so nice. Yeah. Yeah. We also watched some like YouTube tours and stuff.
Yeah. We watched the reviews, a couple reviews on YouTube. I'm excited. I've never been to I've done a couple all-inclusive trips.
Yeah.
They did not look or feel, I can't speak to the feeling.
Yeah.
They didn't look like that. That was very modern. The places that I have been to were nice, but like a little bit more, I guess, how you would imagine like a traditional all-inclusive resort, right?
I guess at the time was different too, because it's been a few years. Because I think this one was probably built around like the last time you went to one. Like it was like 2019, 2020?
It was 2019.
2019, yeah. So this one was probably built around like just shortly after that. So yeah, like Martin really helped us out by showing us like what good prices were.
Right.
So we like knew what to look for.
Yeah. Like
this is a good price and this is what you can get for that price. So when we saw this room, we kind of had a better idea. Like, is that a good value? And like, yeah, it was a really good value. So
yeah. Okay. So where did we leave off last time? I think we were talking about what it was like being married and living together.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions that I wanted to ask. I thought were good prompts for the podcast. One of the motivators for me to start the podcast again was that we had a conversation recently. Like I was focused on like what skills you had and like how we can use those skills to kind of pursue your purpose in a way. I mean, in this particular case, we were talking about your faith.
Yeah.
But that conversation made me want to start doing the podcast again because I've always thought that you were a good speaker. You have a lot of good ideas and like you like to write. So I thought maybe we start the podcast. Maybe now is a good time to get back into the podcast so it would inspire you to take that skill and bring it elsewhere, right?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. When we talked about it, I think you always like encourage me to like write. I mean, because I have mentioned before that I like to do it. And so, yeah, you always encourage me to write because you think I'm good at it, which I appreciate.
I also think you like to do it.
I do like to do it. I'm unfortunately like somebody who like does like I do things in phases. So to get started, like I don't have to, but I'm used to. I'm not used to like writing unless I feel like motivated to do it, I guess, or inspired to do it. Which the reason we landed on podcasting is because, I mean, we joke about it every time you ask me, like, should we record a podcast episode? And I'm always like, yes. Like, I'm always down to talk.
Exactly.
Like, I'm always ready to talk. That's just something that comes pretty naturally to me. Whereas, like, writing, I wouldn't say writing comes naturally to me. Like, I have to be motivated or inspired by something to do it.
Right.
Because there was even some times when we first moved in here. Like, I recently just brought some notebooks because I had a bunch at my parents' house. But I remember there was, like, a couple times last week or maybe the week before where it's like, I wanted to journal and we just didn't have paper in the house.
Yeah.
And to me, like, typically it has to be, like, pen and paper when I feel like that, like, motivation.
I have a journal from when I was a kid that has a bunch of empty pages on it if you like it.
You have it with you here?
I think so, yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah. I mean, I brought a couple of notebooks from like when I bought the Ottoman.
Yeah.
They're in there. They're tucked away in there. But yeah, it was just so funny that even when the inspiration struck, I was like, I don't even have paper.
That's tragic.
Yeah. So I am now covered. Should the inspiration ever strike again, I have what I need.
Yeah.
We had pens, we didn't have paper, but now I have paper. But
yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say that, yeah, but I'm always down to talk. And also, like, whenever I feel like I'm going through something, like I have to make a big decision or, I don't know, just like trying to figure out life, it always starts as like a conversation. And like, I always start up a conversation and you're really good with playing devil's advocate. Like you kind of like, you question me or, you know, you never just like, you don't always just agree with what I'm saying. Even if you do agree with it, like you still kind of ask like questions here and there to make sure like I've considered not everything, but you know,
I just like to push back.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can dive a little bit deeper into whatever thought you're having.
Yeah. And so that's like the structure of our conversations when I'm trying to figure things out. And it's very helpful, as you can imagine. It's really helpful to do that with your partner because I feel like that's just also like how you learn about each other. Like that conversation we brought, like that when we were having the conversation earlier that like brought podcasting back on the table. That conversation we had, like I was going through something and I needed your input because I needed to make sure I wasn't just like doing things for just so that was the easy way out.
Yeah.
Like, am I not like if I was just choosing like the path of least resistance?
Do you want to get into that conversation or do you want to save it for later?
Maybe we'll save it. We'll save it for a different episode. Okay. It could be like soon.
Yeah. I think that would be good to talk about. Yeah. I would enjoy it is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Essentially what I'm saying is that, yeah, like by the end of it, I felt a lot of like resolution because together we had kind of like confirmed or come up with the solution, at least for the time being. And I felt a lot better with it. Anyways, the point is like podcasting is that opportunity for us where we can have conversations like that again and still learn how we want to address things or maybe things that we've done in the past and we've kind of learned from that. And so we kind of like discuss like how we want to do things in the future. Even the ability to like recap our proposal, recap our wedding, and then recap the last few months of living together. Even by doing that, like I feel like I've remembered things or remembered things that I wanted to like do differently, if that makes sense. I've remembered like how I wanted to do things differently, which is nice. Like it was stuff that I thought about in retrospect shortly after. Maybe it was the proposal or the wedding or in the months living together. Like I thought about it then, but kind of like forgot about it because like it's not really relevant currently in our lives. But yeah, like when we talk about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I like felt this way and I, maybe don't want to feel that way again. So like, how am I going to make sure I don't do that or vice versa? Like I felt this way and it was great. So like, how do we keep that alive in our relationship? One of the things that I think our relationship was conceived by was our ability to have these in-depth, prolonged over hours, maybe even days, conversations where we were sending paragraphs to each other. Yeah. And over the years, we've kind of stopped that. Mm-hmm. But naturally, I mean, we're living together now. So after we started living together, even beforehand, but I knew that after we started living together, like I wanted to have more in-person engagement than texting. Yeah, which it makes sense. Like I think I mentioned to you one day, because sometimes I'll call you on my break at work. Like if you're not working. Yeah. If it's during a time that you're not working, like I'll try and call you. But like before when I used to call you, I would literally just go to my recents because you'd be one of my recent phone calls. Yeah. But now that we live together, like you're nowhere near the top anymore. Yeah. We barely talk on the phone, which to your point, like when we first started dating, it was a lot of text message paragraphs. And then a few months in, we started phone calls. Yeah. Which very quickly became like almost nightly. Yes. I feel like we were doing nightly phone calls for like a year and a half. And some of those nightly phone calls, like we didn't have anything to talk about, but some of those nightly phone calls we talked for like 2 hours, 3 hours straight. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like living together, like for the last couple days, before going to bed, like we'll go lay down in bed, but we'll talk. I wonder if the podcasting has sparked that. It might have. Because we did a couple times here and there. Yeah. But you know what you know why I like doing this? Why is that? So at first, I thought it could be a good way for us to give advice to people because we were both so passionate about dating and how it's changed for the worse. Yeah. And this platform was a way for us to offer advice. Yeah, right? Especially because I remember saying like we felt really blessed in the way that this worked out for us. Exactly, right? My motivation for podcasting now is it's an opportunity for you and I to sit down where we're not looking at our devices. We're literally just looking at each other. Yeah. And we can just have a conversation. Yeah. I think when you get married or when you're with somebody long enough, whether it's a friend, family, it could be anybody. Once you get comfortable, the phone particularly, it's really easy to intrude in intimate time, right? And I've noticed that. I mean, the other day you called me out. You said, you're really into your phone recently. And I was like, yeah, I am, yeah. Right? Like, I mean, I brought it up because it wasn't like that. You're not always like that. No, and I think you go through seasons. You go through phases, yeah. Phases of that, right? And I've gone through phases where I've deleted like all of the social media apps and just in an attempt to control my screen time, right? Yeah. I try to be cognizant of that, but then there are also times where
you're just invested.
In 3 months, like that was the first time it happened. So yeah, like sometimes there's things just in a world that interests you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like recently when I get really invested in like in my phone, I'm on my phone a lot. It's when I'm interested in like, I don't know, just like home stuff. Like I feel like I need to like learn new things, which I do really like. But yeah, sometimes it's just like I go overboard and I just like I'm on my phone, like I'm staring at the screen for like everything I scroll past, like 10 cleaning tips you didn't know about. And I'm like, well, I want to know about them.
Yeah.
So that's something that like really captures my attention these days. But, like that would have never captured it before.
Yeah. For me, like the day you mentioned it, I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I mean, I was like on my way to the bathroom to brush my teeth and I wanted my phone so I could watch something while I was brushing my teeth. And in hindsight, I'm like, that's so bad, like that's so bad. But it's so easy to get to that point.
Yeah, like it was unlike you. Like in the 3 months, again, I say in the 3 months that we've been together, you hadn't really done that.
I mean,
that's why I brought it up because I was like, that's weird. Like,
yeah.
Even that's a lot for Kyle.
Sometimes it just grabs, like it just grabbed me.
Yeah,
and it's been grabbing me. Like if I'm being honest, even at work, I feel like I use it more. But back to my point, I just think this is really nice, where we can just talk. We're like. I mean, I can feel that we're invested in the conversation. Yeah, like because there isn't any distractions.
Yeah, we put our phones on like do not disturb. Like if you like, we're just on our couch right now talking to each other. There just happens to be a mic here.
Exactly.
Right. Like it's really that simple. The setup. That's like I guess another reason we knew we wanted to do the audio for sure. We weren't really into the visual component because we did like the idea. I mean, I don't know if we explicitly said this. But I think we both had this thought where we liked the idea of it being as organic as possible for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that being said, another part of like our podcast that we definitely wanted to get into, because when we first started the podcast, like that, we definitely had this theme of talking about like dating and relationships, wanting to give advice. But we did realize we might exhaust that topic every now and then.
Yeah.
Because like when you go through like seasons of just like where you're comfortable in your relationship, there's not really a lot of advice to give because you're not really going through a lot.
Yeah.
So we anticipated that there might be times when we don't have anything to talk about. And we considered like what would we want to talk about in those moments. And we figured that like just listening to conversation between a couple, like it might inspire people to like know, for example, like when I went to dating, like I didn't really know what I was looking for. I didn't have role models who had a relationship that I wanted in particular. It's not to say that people around me didn't have good relationships. It's just not what nothing was really grabbing me. Like I'd be like, oh, I want a relationship like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anybody. So I didn't really even know if what I was looking for was realistic. I just didn't know if I had, realistic expectations. But listening to a couple having like just conversations about things that they're going through, I think can help people have realistic expectations.
I agree.
Of what they might want in their relationship, or again, just what's realistic.
Yeah. Is there a message that you can extract from what we're doing right here?
A message that I can extract? Yeah, like which
advice to a couple?
Yeah, like I remember like prior to moving in together, or even prior to around when we got engaged. I think after we got engaged, I got distracted from this, but I was really invested in learning about relationships even once we were in one. You never stop learning about a relationship even once you're in it, because you're going to come to like new seasons, and there's going to be, we talk about this all the time, how there's going to be like novel experiences and how we might want to approach new things that we're not like experienced with or we don't expect. Anyways, the point is I'm always trying to learn new things about relationships, learning new ways to connect or communicate, what's healthy for a relationship. In modern day life, in modern day society, what are things that are like disrupting relationships? I like to know that because people may have talked about what's disruptive like, 50 years ago, but, we have to kind of keep up to date with society and how it's advancing, so to speak. So one thing that is very disruptive to not only relationships, but even like parenting and children is technology. Like the fact that a lot of people, like their phone is just an extension of them. Like it's always in their hand.
Yep.
Right? Like
most of us.
Yeah.
Like I feel it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I don't know how to go a day without my phone. Like,
yeah.
I try to be mindful with it, but
We should try hard when we're on our honeymoon. I just thought about that.
The only problem is I would want to take a lot of videos and photos.
No, that's fine. But I'm talking about browsing social media.
Yeah.
I did that when I went to Jamaica. Like we I would take photos.
Yeah. Yeah, we should try, yeah.
Yeah.
Having your phone at your disposal where you can literally look up anything, browse anything, you can spend hours on social media or watching videos. That is very like disruptive to what you might be trying to achieve like in reality.
Yeah.
So like one thing I think you shared a video with me on Instagram like a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, about how children, it was a TED Talk that was given like by a kid. But they were talking about how, which was really cute, but they were talking about how, young kids react to when their parent is distracted by a device. And it was really sad.
It was powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll throw it in the description.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out. It's a good video. It really provides perspective to
it's just very like
raising children. Yeah.
If you had a conversation about it, like you'd probably like imagine like, yeah, obviously your kid would want your attention and be distracting or disruptive to that, to engagement with your kid. But to watch it happen is different. Like we're not parents yet, so we don't have like that experience. And in today's day and age and how comfortable we are with having like our phones on us all the time. Yeah. Like you were saying too, right? Like you might be really good at like trying not to use your phone when you don't need to. Yeah. But then you'll just fall into it.
Yeah. Our phones are an extension of us, right? Yeah. And to some degree, most of us understand that better than others, I guess. But it's such a normal part of socialization now. If we're having a conversation and then I pull out my phone or you pull out your phone, it would be totally normal. But doesn't it still feel like there's been a barrier or like a flag that's been raised in the interaction?
Yeah, like I remember. So one of my earlier dating one of the earlier dates I went on prior to you, like the guy I was with like called me out on it. And I was actually just on my phone like updating people because this was like my first date ever. Yeah. I was more concerned about, meeting somebody like from an app. I was actually just updating people as to like where I was. Yeah. But so actually like I wasn't on social media. I was texting, sure, but in my head like it wasn't fun. Like it wasn't like to take away from the experience. Like I was just texting people where I was, but he called me out on it. Yeah. And that's when I realized, because I hadn't been dating before. Prior to that, I actually, like to me, pulling your phone out when you're around people, I knew it was rude with some people, like older people. My aunts and uncles, for example, if we were out to dinner with my aunt and uncle, like I wouldn't pull my phone out. But I didn't know people my age thought that.
Yeah. I think it depends on the social situation.
Yeah, because with your friends.
I think if it's a group, it's more acceptable. Yeah. Maybe even goes unnoticed. Mm-hmm. But if it's a one-on-one, just two people, it stands out. Yeah. I was gonna follow that point up with an anecdote about my sister, who is Gen Z. She's 17. Her phone is her life. Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to.
She's just had one for a long time.
But yeah, she just grew up in that era. Yeah. Right. But
do you remember when she got a phone?
I do. Yeah. She got it when she was in grade 9, which is the same time I got my phone. Yeah. But at the time it wasn't a smartphone. Like I had a flip phone. Mm-hmm. When her and I are together and she's telling me a story or recapping an event, whatever, we're having a conversation, she's talking. Yeah. If I pull up my phone, even she will stop. Yes. She'll stop because she recognizes that my attention is not fully on her.
Yeah. So even somebody who is probably like an advocate for their phones. Yeah. Even they know when it is or is not appropriate to have it out.
There's an energy shift when somebody pulls out their phone. You can feel it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I wanted to just tie it back into that video about the impact of using your phone around your children when they're in that newborn to 5-year-old stage of life. Yeah. Those kids, like the kids can feel it. They can feel the energy shift from when
they know when the attention is diverted.
They're getting your attention versus when you're there, but you're a wall. Like you're not giving anything. Well, it's got to be jarring.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know if it was mentioned in that TED Talk, but we were talking about this where I was saying that I learned this in school, that kids have to be very intuitive for certain things that will impact their survival, essentially. So kids have to be sensitive or intuitive when it comes to whether or not their caregiver is giving them attention. So like you said, like they're just very sensitive to that change or that shift in energy, I guess. Yeah. Like I can't, I don't know, like I can't imagine how they must perceive it. But yeah, like it's important for them to know that they have the undivided attention of their caregiver at any given time. For their ability to pick up on it is probably for survival, but like it's not always the case because, you know, that's also such an important time to establish connection. Yeah. With a child is like that early stage. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting because they're going to ask for it. The question is, are you the adult who can make the choice? Like, are you going to choose to give it to them or not? Because that's going to impact your relationship with them, like in the future, which is like, that's fascinating. Again, it's something that may or may not seem obvious to people when like it's said out loud. Yeah. But when you see how many people might not be implementing that in their real life, like I saw a reel today where a woman was talking about, I mean, again, may seem obvious, but a woman was talking about how much she regrets that her kids are 4 years old, or her kid is 4 years old, and she regrets that that she made them an iPad baby. Yeah. Because the addiction, especially when you start like from as early as a few months old, the addiction that it leads to, like by the time they're 4, I think she says they get like, they feel like a physiological response as a result of their addiction. Like the video I watched was like a little out of context, in my opinion. Like the way she just started bringing things up didn't really like, it was kind of hard to follow, but she was just like a regular parent who seemed a little like, just like overwhelmed. Yeah. With like where she's at this point. Like 4 years of choices in the making has led her to this point where she doesn't really know what to do, but now she feels too bad because their addiction is so strong that to like take away screen time from them is like so much harder. Visceral. Yeah. Like she's like, she was saying something about how their teeth hurt. Like they cry saying that their teeth hurt or something.
Maybe they're clenching their teeth.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
But that's what I didn't quite get from her description, is that they were experiencing physical pain. But I'm like, that's crazy. Like, it's like, is it withdrawals? So that's what's uncertain. But what's clear is that she regretted that they were iPad kids. Yeah. Which I guess is the flip side. I guess that's the flip, is if your kid has access to a screen at a young age. But it's ultimately the same problem of a lack of connection to other people at an age where that's really impactful. And I think people who are like attached to their phone are more likely to allow for their kids to be attached to a device.
The struggle when you're a parent is that you also have to monitor your own screen time. Being that parent that limits your kid's screen time, but on the other hand, you're glued to your phone. Yeah. I don't think that works either. No. Right?
They don't take you seriously, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
I would imagine.
They may not be able to articulate it, but I think that they can sense that it's contradictory or unfair. Yeah. Right? There's a lack of balance there.
And you're probably less likely, like you're going to get more pushback.
And I don't think, the excuse or the reason that a lot of parents go to, which is like, well, I'm an adult and you're a child, so yeah, I'm allowed to do things that you can't do. I don't think that works either. Yeah. Because that can just build resentment.
Yeah, because they don't understand it. Yeah.
You have to set an example. At least that's how I perceive it. I think like you don't want your kids to catch you always on your phone. Yeah. Right? Because then they're going to think that that's normal. We don't want to normalize that. Yeah. I don't think, right?
Yeah, whether or not it's normal for the average person is that actually good for you though? Like I think we want to normalize what's good for people. Yeah. Not necessarily what the average person does. But we kind of took it to the route of like parent-child relationships, but yeah, so especially if a kid is sensitive to that, like naturally adults are. And I agree, like I think after those like first couple dates, like I do notice it, because on our dates, I feel like we were rarely on our phones, right? Because there was just so much like, I guess, to talk about or get to know each other. Yeah. But like you would even do this thing, which was really romantic. I don't know why I just spaced out there. I used to do this thing that was like really romantic.
In your feels, remembering.
Yeah. I was just
swooning from the past.
Caught up in that moment. Yeah. But yeah, I used to do this thing where you like, even when we sat in silence, like you didn't pull out your phone. You literally just like held my hand and stared at me. And that might sound like cringy. It might sound cheesy. But I think that's one of the things that really established our relationship, was that feeling of like, you have my undivided attention. If you need it, you have it. I didn't necessarily pick it up as such in the moment, but over time, I think that's what happened, because when we did start getting more comfortable and it, like, you know, we started, I think if I remember correctly, I think we started showing each other things on our phones, and then it escalated to the point where we would just, if we weren't talking about anything, we would just be on our phones, like, independently. And it doesn't happen right away, because again, you and I are both kind of used to that. Like, we're used to being on our phones, but we're also used to being around people who are on their phones. So it doesn't happen all at once. But eventually, like, when you keep doing that, like, I would note that, like, oh, we haven't had a deep conversation in a couple days.
Yeah.
Or, like, even though, like, you had established at the very beginning of the relationship that idea, like, if you need my undivided attention, you have it. Like, I always knew I would have it. Like, it was never a question of, or in my experience, whenever I, like, put my phone down, turned to you, and started talking to you, more often than not, like, you would put your phone down within, like, a few seconds. When you realize, like, oh, like, we're having a conversation, like, you would put your phone down.
Yeah.
So it was never a question of, like, oh, I feel like Kyle's not paying attention to me, or I feel like we can't talk anymore. It's not that we can't. It was just weird how we went from, like, only doing that to, like, again, it would only be for, like, a matter of days, but, like, only being on our phone.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm with my friends, like, it's pretty normal for me to pull out my phone, or for anybody to pull out their phone. But I think when you're in a relationship and you're spending as much time together as you do, and you're, like, aiming to be in this, like, long term, like, for, you know, decades, I don't like that. Like, that's not going to fly. Like, you can't continue on your relationship, like, in your marriage, where you're trying to build a life with this person and you're not having those moments where you're connecting. This might just be a selfish reasoning, but even so, I feel like if you're in a relationship, you might be entitled to this, but if you're in a relationship and you don't feel like you're getting attention from your partner, like, if your partner's attention is diverted, like, you'll kind of weigh, like, why is it diverted? Like, what's the reason? And there's, like, there's other things that would be, like, on a, like a relatively high priority. Like, for example, if it's between, like, me or your friends, like, you don't see your friends as often as you see me.
Right.
So if it's a matter of, oh, I don't have Kyle's attention today, but it's because he's seeing his friends, or he's, like, talking to his friends while he's gaming, that's very different than, like, oh, I don't have his attention today because he's on his phone.
Yeah.
Like, being on your device is just, like, really low on that priority list. Like, no one has to be on their phone. But again, like, if it was for work, like, because sometimes you check or you look at emails and stuff, that's very different. Like, that affects me differently. Like, if it's so, like, I guess that's how I look at it subconsciously. I, like, rank, like, if I don't have your attention is elsewhere, I rank, like, how much of a priority I think you view that as. And so when it's a low priority thing, that's when it annoys me the most. Yeah. And it's like, I know you don't. Understandably so. Yeah, and I know you don't value being on your phone very much. It's just something we do out of habit because it's
cheap dopamine.
Yeah, exactly. it's like this mindless thing that you can do to relax, to not think about anything else. And then, yeah, like the constant dopamine rush from things like social media. But I know you don't value it, because we've had conversations like this before. So when I don't have your attention and I know it's to something you don't really value, like, that's when it gets annoying.
Yeah.
Or, like, that's when I become sensitive to it.
Once if I'm just on a social media binge where I'm, like, scrolling through reels.
Yeah.
It's easy to get locked into that.
Yeah.
But I feel like once I get pulled out.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Like, it's like, I don't feel the need to go back in. There isn't, like, actual value in what I'm watching, right? Mm-hmm. It's not, I don't need it. It's just that cheap attention grabbing dopamine.
Yeah.
Right. And once I'm out, I don't need to go back.
And there's also something to be said about, like, the blame can't always be on the person who's on their phone. Often it is me too. Like, I think you mentioned when we watch a show together, I would often pull my phone out when watching a show because I'm not always used to, like, I'm not used to watching a show where that, like, exclusively has my attention.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I watch a show on my own, like, I'll pull my phone out every, like, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, same.
Right? So, but you mentioned that, like, when we're watching a show together, because we, like, watched Money Heist together recently. Like, that was our couple show. That was
our, like, we got married, we need a show.
Yeah.
We just ripped through the entire series.
It was so good that we, like, can't get back into it with another show. Like, it's so hard to find a replacement.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you mentioned, because I'm not used to watching TV that way, and I didn't really know what the expectation was. So yeah, you mentioned that you noticed it. You noticed, or it even bothered you that when we were watching a show together, if I pulled my phone out, you said it would like, even though we're watching a show together, like, we would still be cuddling. There'd still be, like, a physical, like, connection.
Right.
To the point where even though our attention is elsewhere, there was still a component where we felt connected. And if I pulled my phone out in that moment and we weren't engaged in the same activity, like you would feel a loss in connection.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But this was something that I heard about. Okay, so to what I was saying earlier, I think I started this thought, but then I kind of went on a tangent. When I was interested in learning new things about relationships, one of the things I learned about was if a couple, in our case, a married couple, if a husband and wife are in a room and they're both on their phones looking at something else, just like you're in the same room together, but you guys are not spending time together. Like that doesn't count. Your attention is diverted to two like individual activities essentially. And he said, like, do not confuse that with spending time together, which now that we're married and living together, like that, 'cause that does take effort. Like it takes effort for us to realize that he said it's almost worse to be in the same room doing it. He actually recommended that if you were going to do individual tasks, do them in separate rooms.
I think that's great advice. We've been in situations where I feel like I've noticed that we're together, but we're apart mentally.
Yeah, like when we're in the same room and doing different tasks and I have no idea what you're doing, like I feel distant. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I feel like I've seen people argue that they still think that there's value in that.
Yeah.
I just think that it's bullshit.
Yeah. Because I actually, sorry to interrupt you, but I've made an argument that like I would like, not an argument, a request, I guess. I always say that in the den where you have like your desktop set up. Yeah. And that's where you'll game with your friends. I said I wanted a like beanbag chair in there. Yeah. So I can still like kind of hang out with you.
Because even if.
So I don't know, but I would have to give it a shot, I guess. Because even though in my head that makes sense, in reality, I don't know if I would actually like take that well.
But if you were, I'm curious now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, sometimes when I'm gaming with my friends, it's funny. Like you find it funny.
Yeah, so maybe I'll be entertained by it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we are engaged in the same thing.
Yes.
Just we play different roles.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I wasn't doing my own task, if I was actually watching you game with your friends, I would still feel connected. I would still feel involved. So as long as I was actually like engaged to get, like you said, in the same activity, playing different roles, I feel like that's different.
So my friends and I are playing a game called Chained Together. The objective of the game is to get to the top of the level. Yeah. You have to climb up to the top. Like there's like hazards and obstacles that you need to get around.
This is a new game, right? Relatively?
It's relatively new. I mean, it kind of blew up beginning of summer, maybe even before then. Mm-hmm. But we haven't gotten around to it until now. Mm-hmm. We've played a couple times, like over the past couple months. Whenever we do play, it's fun. Like the catch is that you can play in a party of up to 4 people and you're all chained together, hence the name, right? So if somebody, makes the wrong move, the whole team can get yeeted off the wall that you're climbing. Yeah. And then you're down back to the bottom of the map. It can make for a lot of fun moments. You might enjoy watching that. Anyway, that was my quick tangent.
Because Kyle, before we started dating, he would record the screen while you were playing games, and he would like clip them up into like a funny montage. Yeah. So I remember going through his Instagram because it was a separate Instagram. I think it wasn't your.
I think it was my main at the time.
At the time, okay. So I remember going through his Instagram and dying over how funny some of these things were. Yeah. Like, you're describing this game right now, and I don't know why I thought it was something that you'd played before, but I don't remember what this game was called, but it was the game where you were like little people. This clip was the one where you guys were going up something.
A gondola.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like, Kevin's like, oh, like, don't worry, like, we're almost done. We're literally at the top. We're almost done. And was it you?
It was me.
Kyle falls off the gondola.
I fell off the gondola.
And like the way this game just like shows it is just this camera, like the screen is just following Kyle falling off.
Yeah, I think I put it in slow mo.
Yeah, it was so funny because now everyone's like, oh, I guess we're nowhere near done now. Like,
yeah, for my gamers out there, the game was called Human Fall Flat. If you know, you know.
I remember watching that clip and dying. It was so funny.
Yeah, the physics of that game were hilarious. It was you were basically like your character was like a rag doll. So whenever you fell, it was just like, your limbs are just flopping around everywhere.
Yeah, because I think you were like, I'm gonna, like, oh, let me sit my guy down or something. Yeah, like in the gondola. Yeah. Like, let me see if I can sit in the gondola, and he just
and
falls
I slipped out the back.
Literally just slipped out the back. Like, it was so slow-mo. You didn't even realize it was happening at first. That was so funny. Anyways, that's what makes me think I would enjoy watching. Yeah. Because I like watching the clips afterwards, so.
Yeah, and the guys I play with are funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we got there, but.
Oh, because I said I wanted a beanbag chair in the den so that when you're gaming, I can still be there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like, the people who make the argument that, like, even when they're doing separate tasks, they'd rather be in the same room. I don't know. It works sometimes. Maybe if there's, like, an explicit, like, conversation about it. Yeah. Because even when you were at the condo, like, I used to go there almost every Sunday. It got to a point where we had days where we didn't really know what to do, like, especially in the winter. Yeah. So you suggested I bring my laptop and I could do schoolwork while you do work on your computer. But we were in the same space. We occupied the same space. But, like, I kind of liked that. I didn't notice anything, like...
Yeah, that's a really good point because that felt good.
Yeah, like that felt fine.
We were both being productive in the same space, even though we were doing independent tasks.
Yeah, so maybe it was the fact that there was an explicit conversation, like the expectation. Right. Right? Versus...
when you just fall into it randomly.
Like, one thing that, like I'm literally going to say just, like, hurts my feelings is when, like, sometimes, like, an ideal will strike you and you'll just, like, wander off towards your computer. And I'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah. But, like, that's what makes me think that, again, if there's, like, an explicit conversation or communication about, like, I'm going to go do this thing, I feel like that helps. Because, like, I do that too, but I do that when I'm in a bad mood. Yeah. So maybe I just, like, assume it's the same thing. Like, I project that onto you. Even though it's, like, totally normal for you. Yeah. Like, this is kind of, like, relative to our previous episode where we, like, talk about how independent, like, you are relative to me. Right. Like, that's just your... Like, I mentioned this briefly in that episode, but that's just your independence. Like, to you, that's normal. Yeah. But to me, like, I would only do that if I was in a bad mood. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's tricky. I got to get better at just telling you what's going on. But like
I should just follow you.
You can.
We're going to the den
now. What's going on over here? Yeah. My communication can be better there. What happens is, like you said, something will just, like, jump into my mind, an idea or an impulse to go, like, work on a project. Usually it's not to game.
No, when you do that, it's not to game. No, you'll tell me beforehand because you usually have a plan beforehand.
Right. But yeah,
it's just to work on stuff. But because I always feel so dumb afterwards. Like, I always like interpret it as this bad thing. But then you'll...
It's actually, like, when I think about it, it's like, it's funny, it's bad, but it's funny, like, that you perceive it like as a, like, oh, he's mad.
Yeah, or like, I take it personal, even though I know I shouldn't. But I always feel so silly afterwards when you come back and I'm like, where were you? And you just start, like, you just tell me about, like, this thing that you worked on because you're so excited about it. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm so dramatic for no reason. Like, I always feel bad afterwards where I was like, oh, I was fully mad for what?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. It just takes hey, babe, I'm going to go work on something. I think that, like, also part of that is that I don't even, like, sometimes as weird as this may sound, like, I don't even really know what I'm going to work on. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, because it might just be, like, an obscure idea that, like, I want to...
You haven't done it yet.
Yeah. That I want to just expand on. Yeah. Like, randomly... So I used to, like... I don't know if I've talked about that I used to be into gaming competitively when I was younger. I'm not sure if I've talked about that on an earlier episode.
I don't remember, but...
But I did. I mean, I was, like... I used to play Halo competitively.
Yeah, at prison.
What's that?
He's prison.
Yeah.
If that means anything to anybody.
But, I used to, like, in addition to competing, I was into video editing. That's how I got into video editing and graphic design, was through the community and forums and creating content, right? And back in the day, I used to create, like, what I would call a montage, which, like, I think everybody knows what a montage is, but it's not just a compilation of clips. Yeah. It's, like, more of like a movie, kind of, like, where you highlight your gameplay, you put music over it, and if you really want to bedazzle it, like, you'll sync it and you'll add special effects and all that jazz. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like I just butchered that definition, but, like, hopefully you understand what I mean. anyway, I used to love making those back in the day, right? Like I just collect all my clips, put a video out once a year, maybe even like more frequently.
Yeah.
The last one I put out was like the beginning of 2020.
Yeah.
And one of the things that like I just wanted to do was like explore that old habit and see if it like the passion was still there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one of the obscure ideas that I just had one day, was that I'm going to go start something, and maybe it turns out to be nothing. Like maybe after working on it for 2 hours, like I have no interest in continuing it and I just scrap it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turned into something, and now it's currently like a work in progress, but I do plan on finishing it, and I'm happy that I did it because it was like, you know, just an old habit, an old hobby that I used to do.
Yeah, I think like I feel like if you don't have like a creative outlet for like a long period of time, like you'll crave it, and I think the easiest thing to do is to go back into something you know you enjoy.
Yeah,
I think that's important. I think especially I always think having a creative outlet is important. For everybody, you kind of just have to find what it is. Like it looks different for everybody. Like I used to do like very maybe like obvious creative things, like painting. But then another one, like this one wouldn't necessarily strike me as creative, but baking. I was really into baking for a period of time, and in retrospect, I realized like that was my creative outlet at the time. Now it's like home stuff. Like I actually find like cleaning and organizing is my new creative outlet, which I would never have considered it that, but I like to, even like cleaning, like I know what it's going to look like afterwards, but I still like to do it.
Yeah.
Like I like that like control, I guess. I like knowing that I have the ability to transform this place to make it look nicer.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, like I never would have considered cleaning and organizing a creative outlet, but at least for myself, but it is. Like that's my new one currently. Like today, I probably spent like 45 minutes looking at different types of pillows because I was like, wow, the way we could transform our bed with these pillows. Kyle really thought
I've been warned about pillows.
Yeah. Kyle really thought he was safe from the pillows because I went a really long time like not really caring about pillows.
You're there now though? You're in the pillow phase?
I don't know yet.
Okay, because I did tell you that, you know, one of the guys I worked with warned me that like one day you're just going to come home and there's just pillows everywhere.
I don't think I would ever do it without you. Because I know you're not fully on board with it, so I'd try to find common ground.
Well, like what are we talking about here? Like for the bed, for the couch?
No, for the bed. I like the ones we have for the couch.
Yeah, there's enough on the couch.
I'm content with the couch.
We have 3.
Because also the couch that we got came with like these back and side pillows.
Right, yeah.
I love when beds have like just unnecessary crap on them. Like I know it's unnecessary and I know it's annoying, but it looks so nice. But then what makes me hesitant, like, so I looked at these pillows, but I didn't end up like doing anything about it, is that I also don't care for like that added step. Like right now I make the bed every single day because it's easy. So
that was going to be my follow-up question, was like
what
do we do with the pillows when we're going to bed? Do we just put them on the floor? Do we have to bring them out here and put them on the couch?
Yeah, typically people I think have a chair or something. Like we have an ottoman now, but I don't plan on that being empty for the cushions. Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, I do love the idea of bedding. Like even a throw, like I thought I would be the kind of person, because I thought like our temperatures were different enough that like I would need, Kyle runs hot, usually I run cold.
Although recently you've been running hot.
But like it's so random because like right now I need the blanket. Like I don't know, definitely when I sleep.
Yeah.
When I sleep I run hot. But so whenever I'm out here in the main living space, I get cold. Which is, that's when I walk into, I don't know, there's no science behind it. But yeah, like that's what I was going to get to, is that I'm so used to the dichotomy between us where you run hot, I run cold. But for some reason, I'll randomly just get hot. And I know to expect that now. I don't know when to expect it. It sounds like I'm having like hot flashes. I don't know. That's how I jokingly describe them too. But I don't know when to expect it, but I know to expect it now. So the idea of like, and I know for a fact that when I sleep, I usually run hot now. It's so annoying. But anyways, so that's why I don't want to add much to the bed. But visually it looks cool. Like right now, I like to, you've probably noticed, but I like to like turn the bedding, like the duvet, like I like to fold it over.
Yeah, why do you do that? Just to air it out?
To air it out, yeah. I remember reading that like you should do that because should you have like dust mites or something or bed bugs, they like dark, compact, warm area.
Yeah.
So you should be like airing out your bedding because should you have any dust mites, like that's where they're going to go.
That's smart.
Yeah.
I can get behind that. You know what I do want to look into? You've mentioned it recently, was the dual duvet situation.
Yeah. Dual comforters. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? The Scandinavians do
yes.
that?
Yeah. They call it, I think it's the Scandinavian sleep method or something is what they call it.
Yeah. So instead of just one large duvet that we share, we have two separate smaller ones.
Which like you had brought this up on your own, like on a separate occasion.
Because I was concerned about ripping the sheets from you or the duvet from you or vice versa. I can't remember.
You're concerned I was going to rip them from you?
Well, yeah, because if you did, I don't think I would have the heart to take it back.
Yeah.
Like, it's hers now.
Yeah,
Look at that face.
I mentioned to Kyle one time. I know I think the same thing with you. Like, you've never taken the duvet to the point where I don't have it.
Right.
It's just like inches away because you like.
I'm mindful of it now. Has it been the same?
No, I mean it's only happened like once or twice.
Sometimes I'll give you some slack when I wake up like in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
We're like, I'll give her some slack.
That's what it is. Like Kyle just like he tosses and turns a little more than I do. So like in his movement, like sometimes the blanket just gets like stuck under him or something.
Yeah, sometimes I get trapped. That happened yesterday. I was fully trapped in the duvet.
It was so funny. But yeah, like he'll just like roll over it or something. So then I just have less on my side.
Yeah.
But I told him, I was like, it's not a huge deal. Like I just scoot over more.
Yeah.
Cause like you've never taken it that much. It's probably only moved like 4 or 5 inches. So like, yeah, I'll just like scoot over a little bit more so I have more duvet. But Kyle's like, you can just take it from me. I was like, what kind of a monster do you think I am? And I could just like wake you up in the middle of the night and be like, give me more of the duvet.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. Like just like you said, like you couldn't do it either. But I remember one time when within like the first month of us living together, Kyle got up to go to the bathroom and he saw that the duvet was a little more on his side. And so I woke up when he went to the bathroom and when he came back, he like fully straightened it out on my side so that I had more.
Yeah.
It's really cute. It doesn't move as much now, so.
It doesn't or I don't. Do you feel like I move less sometimes?
It's definitely sometimes. I think if you're sleeping like more soundly, you'll move less.
That was like I wasn't really going to bring it up, but that was an adjustment I think that doesn't really get talked about is learning how to like co-sleep.
Yeah.
With somebody else.
Yeah, because
which I feel like really quick, I just want to preface by saying it wasn't like that. It wasn't bad. No,
but we like you thought about it a lot.
I did think about it,
before getting married.
I was concerned. I did bring up to Abby that like I will toss and turn when I'm trying to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Until I find the spot. And it's never the same spot. I feel like it's changes nightly. But I was concerned for you that I was going to impact your sleep by moving so much.
Yeah, because in my experience, like I had been, like if I went on vacation with my parents, like typically I'd share a bed with my mom. And my dad and my brother would like have like their own beds. Like because my dad would need one, my brother would need one, so my mom and I would end up sharing one. And I know from sleeping with my mom that I don't like I could move. Again, I think it just has to do with like how tired I am. Like if I'm gonna fall asleep easily and stay asleep, I don't think I move around a lot when I'm like sound asleep. I think I'm like I know some people are. I don't think I'm that person. I think I'm the kind of person who will move around like. And I think this is like you too. Like when you wake up for a second. You like wake up for a second, realize you're uncomfortable, and you move around.
Yeah.
I'm that person. But when I was with my mom, I felt like I couldn't move around as much, so I would sleep still. And when I would sleep still, sometimes it would take me longer to fall asleep. So I'd have to fall asleep in a position I might not necessarily be comfortable in. So I had a feeling like I would have the same issue with you. But I think it just takes practice because even though I'm comfortable sleeping with my mom, like we don't do it often.
Yeah.
But like you and I, like eventually, like the first few nights, I remember we mentioned this, that like we would wake up a few times, but like we weren't that tired.
No, I remember still feeling completely rested in the morning.
Which was nice because I was concerned like, oh my God, this is going to be an adjustment. Like might not be able to sleep well throughout the night. And you still had to be up in the morning. But yeah, like it wasn't so bad. Now I feel like we both get up less.
Yeah, I feel like now I am sleeping soundly throughout the night. Yeah, there's the occasional
night because there's
the turn.
Yeah.
But I am in a deep sleep now. And I feel like even though I don't have the amount of space that I once did, I don't think I could go back to like sleeping alone and it not feel weird.
It feels weird. Like, yeah. Like, even
there's comfort that I feel when you're there.
Aww.
Yeah. Like, honestly, like I'm not even trying to get you to awe. Like because I do that sometimes. I try to get you to awe. Yeah. Not that time. It's true.
That was just true, yeah.
Because sometimes I'm napping and like there is that like, oh, I can stretch out a little bit more, but I'm glad that like when we go to bed,
yeah,
we get to share the bed.
Yeah, me too.
Like we get to sleep together.
Yeah, me too. Like, I mean, yeah, to your point, like I can do it sometimes knowing that it's like short-lived. Today, like I had a lazy day today, and after you went to work, I went back to bed and I definitely like fell asleep again. But when I woke up to go to the bathroom and I came back, I literally just got in the bed on your side.
Did you?
Like I didn't even make it all the way to my side of the bed. I just got in on your side and stayed there.
How was it?
It was nice.
Nice.
It's just like I can do stuff like that knowing it's short lived.
Right.
But like, yeah, I mean, I can do that knowing that like when I go to bed tonight, you'll be there.
Yeah, like I had thoughts that before we lived together, it might be an adjustment for me and you, but honestly, it was rather seamless.
Yeah.
Rather seamless, which I'm thankful for.
I'm thankful for that too, yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't always work out that way.
No, I mean,
right?
we're both like arguably sleepy people.
Oh, yeah.
We're sleepy people.
By the time it's bedtime, like I'm like, yep, like let's go.
Like there's not a lot that really gets in our way of sleeping.
No. And we both don't snore.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. Like there was a scare, if you will.
Yeah.
About a year ago.
Yeah.
Where you and I were napping together and Abby let out one singular snore. And I like was completely in tune to it.
Yeah, I kind of clocked it.
I clocked it, wrote it down in my mind.
Yeah.
Mental note. And I like had to let you know.
Yeah.
When you woke up.
Yeah, you're like, babe, you snore.
Yeah. But since then, never again.
Yeah.
The one singular snore was all that she ever gave me.
Well, you have that too every now and then. Like you'll do this one singular snore, but then like you never do it again.
I know, and I hear it. I think that's why.
Yeah.
Like, I registered in my brain. I'm like, that can't happen again. I can't just be out here snoring. You know?
Yeah, it's so funny because like I'll snore and then I'll zero in on it.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing that follows. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I feel like if there was a second one, I would have to issue a formal apology.
Hey, babe, I snored and I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully that sticks. I know that you can develop snoring.
You can develop it as you get older.
As you get older. But we're both very blessed right now.
Yeah, we're sleeping soundly.
Good partners.
Yeah.
We've been going for over an hour. Do you want to call it?
Yeah. What was this podcast?
We started off with talking about the
like phones and connection.
I feel like that's the subject matter, was the attention and connection devices.
Yeah.
I like that. That's going to be the title. Attention and connection.
Wow. Kyle never takes my title suggestions. They're usually lame. It's not usually my forte, but I nailed this one.
No, that was excellent. Great job, babe.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
Aw. Thanks, babe.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode for us. Great chat. Love chatting.
We love chatting.
Hope you guys enjoy just being a fly on the wall for Abby and I living our lives as a married couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you on the next one.
Catch you the next time.
Peace.
Bye.